Ragazzi, Gary Oldman è con noi. Welcome.
I'll try again. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you. Am I here?
Yeah.
Okay. We need you because old people like me, you know, we eventually can't work. We retire. We get out of the business and we need new blood, new passion, new minds, new energy. And you are the future of cinema. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm just excited and intrigued to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Oldman.
Hello.
My name is Sarah. I am a young filmmaker from Albania. You are my biggest idol. Thank you for being here. My question is there something that maybe you've done or has happened to you, like that for the in your youth, that for the moment it has seemed like a very, very bad experience, but years later it has influenced your life as an actor for a good way?
I think the biggest impact in my life was it would have to be when my parents were divorced, and my father left when I was 7. And like a kid, you think, well, if he really loved me, he would stay. And it's only later in life that you realize he wasn't in love with my mother anymore, and he had met someone else, and you go through your own life with your own experiences, and you fall in and out of love, and nothing is perhaps forever. But at the time when you're 7, you have no understanding of that, and so you internalize it all. It's that, it's been said, you know, you feel such a sense of abandonment. And, I guess any therapist would tell you, you know, they say that the abandoned child abandons themselves. And so I have used, in a way, the loss of my father, and I have applied that to my own work. I'll give you an example of where I would use something like that. When I was working with Coppola and doing Dracula, thank you very much. Thank you very much. He wanted me at one point to weep, like just weep and wail. And I said, well, getting emotional is one thing, and crying is another. I said, but as Hamlet would say, to flood the very stage with tears, that's gonna take a little work to. And so I would always use the loss of my dad to internalize that and use that as a sort of springboard, an emotional sort of starting point or an impulse to generate the sort of the necessary kind of emotion. So I've used that. That I think that really, I would say my dad leaving, it really impacted me for many years. I'm sure it still does, but does that answer your question?
Allora, per rispondere alla tua domanda, sì, in effetti la prima esperienza.
Qual era il suo consiglio
per trovare la forza, per ridere contro contro le nostre paure, agire
Right.
in modo positivo e distruggere quelle paure.
Chiaro, chiaro. So
scusa.
what is your advice to find the strength to
Yes,
fight
to overcome your fears.
Well, speaking for myself, I certainly wish or look back and think about when I was. I think I had little confidence and was always a bit of a people pleaser, and I was kind of worried about what people would think of me. And it really took finding acting for me was for myself that was the shield for me against so you got I'm trying to articulate it. You've got to have you can listen to like constructive criticism, but you really do have to learn, I think, to say no, and also not be afraid to say yes for the things that the things that you do fear. I mean, we all have a general fear, just as human beings, but fears that we all share. But I think finding acting for me, finding the arts was the beginning of me being fearless and finding a confidence in myself. I think self-esteem is a great combatant against our fears. I can't speak for someone who doesn't like to go into the ocean, or doesn't like flying, or is scared of the boogeyman under the bed, or whether the bomb's going to drop. Or I mean, those are things that we all share. I don't have a secret remedy for any of that. But speaking personally, it was the arts, and particularly the theatre and movies that gave me my protection.
E allora, per quanto mi riguarda,
If I could just add to that, a lot of the success I've had in some of the roles that I've played, a good chunk of my career has always come initially from the fear of doing it. My manager, my creative partner there for many years is sitting there, and my wife will tell you, Giselle. I'm scared. I'm fearful of this one, and you kind of just have to make the leap. And the roles that are the most intimidating, and the challenges are there. I've always felt a small sense of accomplishment. That you kind of like a runner, like a long distance runner who sort of pushes through the pain barrier. You know, you're scared of it, but oddly, some of the best rewards have come from doing something that I was very fearful of doing, just because of the role or the challenges, or like we all have. a sense of failure. You know, you very much feel sometimes that when you go into a new project, you're like a tightrope walker, and you go, do I fall this time? Do I really fail this time? And it's that sense of achievement, accomplishment, or failure that gives you the spark, the spark and the minerals of it to go on, if that makes sense. So a lot of the more relaxed, the more I couldn't care less. I don't think good work comes from that. I think a lot of the great work comes from being scared. Yeah, I mean, I think that probably goes back to the very beginning of what we were talking about with my dad. You know.
E stiamo tornando proprio all'inizio di quello che dicevo quando parlavamo di mio padre.
You know, you feel in a kind of way you do. You feel invisible. You feel unloved. You feel, yeah, it's.
Ti senti invisibile, ti senti poco amato, è così, sì.
And it was really, it was, I didn't know what direction I was going in. I had a bunch of regular jobs. I mean, I know we say in the real world, you know, in the normal world.
Yeah.
But as I say, I had not even thought about it, and then I saw Malcolm. I don't know what it was about him, about that mix of menace and vulnerability. Just the energy arrested me, and it was like I say, the light got brighter in the room. It was a moment of clarity, like a revelation. But I wrote and directed a film called Nil by Mouth, and it was about, in part, it was about alcoholism. It was about a dysfunctional family. It was about that particular male-driven sort of culture or pub culture, but yet in a way very matriarchal, with the women who were strong and holding the family together. And I remember it being at a festival, and someone came up to me afterwards and they said, you know, your film made me think about my dad, which is something I don't do enough. And he hadn't spoken to him for a long time, and he wrote him a letter. And I felt, you know what, it was worth making the film, just to sort of move and energize that kid to connect with his dad. And I'm sure you found it really watching these movies. There's some emotion, there's similarities. I love that thing when you're watching a film and you go, it doesn't have to be naturalistic, it doesn't have to be realism, it could even be a sci-fi movie, it could be Harry Potter, it could be whatever it is, but when you sit there and you connect with the film and you go, that's me. That's my life up there. And I'm sure you've experienced it here. It's like someone turning on a switch. And you go, this is what I want to do.
Absolutely.
Just one other thing before we wrap up. You have to develop a tough skin, because you're going into, for some of you, maybe many of you here, you want to go, whether it's writing, whether it's directing, whether it's acting, whether it's production design, cinematography, you know, there's a lot of competition, and you're basically jumping into an ocean of rejection. You have to develop a tough skin just to keep going and following that dream, because people are gonna, along the way, they really knock you around, and they can just corrode and destroy the confidence and individuality. You know, you've got to be, another quote from Hamlet, you know, it's cliche, but to thine own self be true. You've got to have that singular vision and passion to that. You have to have that drive, because there are peaks in this profession, and there are valleys, and stick to your message, stick to your point of view, and you know, that's just someone who's been doing it for 42 years. It's a tough game, and you've got to keep your vision. I would say that.